Give it a little more.
Sorry.
That's it.
Had to bite my lip on that. Action. Okay.
All right, guys.
Oh, I just
Episode
bumped the mic.
59 of the Inside Real Estate Podcast. We have a returning guest, one of the few, David Williams. And today we're going to be getting inside the mind of one of Chester County's most unfiltered realtors.
Yes, I like that.
How's it going, man?
It's going.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm getting my head above water after a really busy spring. So,
How did that go?
it went fine. It was good. I was happy to be busy. I've had a lot more buyers in play than I've had in a long time. You know, when the market was really hot, it was, buyers were struggling. So there weren't, kind of as many. And I was focused on listings and, as everybody was focused on listings, but I've had a lot more buyers recently, and the buyer transactions are more complex because, you're getting the opportunity to do inspections now. And so, when's the last time you negotiated inspections as an agent? It's been a long time because a lot of people are waiving inspections and things like that. So I had to dust off some old skills and put those back into play. And I'm forever amused and entertained about how you can be in real estate for 17 years now, which sounds painful to say, and still learn stuff and still just experience things and wish you did things differently. Yeah.
Does that surprise you though? Like, I don't know. I mean, I felt no matter how many times I had done a specific thing, every transaction you learn something, whether it's about people, how to deal with them. Houses have something different, to offer all the time.
Right. But, after 17 years and as many transactions as I've done, my North Star has always been Maureen Hughes with Keller Williams. She's my North Star. She is the one who every day I wish I was like. And I frequently say to myself, what would Maureen do? Because Maureen always handles things with grace, and she's smart, and I don't handle things like Maureen does on a regular basis. So I'm not saying that I'm not as good as Maureen in some ways, but I mean, I just think, I really get disappointed in myself when I don't handle things above the line. Like I think that I should always be above the line. I think I should always do things right. I have this expectation for myself that is really hard to meet sometimes.
Give me an example. Like, what do you mean? Like when you say above the line, like what do you?
I get emotional about my job, and I thought I'd be over that by now. And in a lot of ways I am over that. Like in a lot of ways I don't get emotional, but I still have triggers and things that happen that I get really emotional about. And so I don't like that. I mean, it is what it is, right? But I don't like that. I wish I could change that.
Maybe it's a superpower.
It might be. It doesn't feel like it is sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, there's a persona that I think I have out there, which is largely accurate, I believe. But I think there's a lot of people that don't realize how much I think about things that happen. So.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, you do.
I think
we spend a lot of time together.
I think it's a good thing in a lot of ways. Yeah, sometimes it's like to yourself, it probably, it's like, ugh. But, on the other end.
Yeah. And it happens when you get busier. And I've been busy. I mean, like I've been busy for the last 6 to 8 weeks. So there's been a lot going on, a lot of plates I'm spinning. And
how are the, do you unload all of your listings? They're all...
Unload. I've got one currently that is sitting a bit.
Mulberry.
Why do you say the name? Why do you say the name? Well, everybody knows Magnolia Place in Kennett Square has been a little bit of a challenging community because there have been a lot on there.
4. You're number 4.
Well,
recently. I shot 3 of them. Yeah.
Right. You shot 3 of them. You didn't shoot mine. Sorry. I know. I lost my train of thought on that one. You're going to have to cut that one out.
No, but like, can we talk about it?
Talk about
like what's holding that one up? Because I think it's a little bit of a unique situation.
Well, I think the community itself just has a stigma at the moment. So I think it's a good community. I think they're nicely built. I mean, the location's great. There's a lot of attributes to that community. It's walkable to town. I mean, it's an end of town that is really developing. So I think there's a lot of good things about that community. There have been several on the market that were overpriced to start and sat for hundreds of days. So when you get multiple units in a community like that sit for hundreds of days, consumers immediately think there's a problem with the community, or there's a problem with this or a problem with that. So I think it's a challenge.
That's a lot of days. Well, also, I mean, from what the other agent was telling me, that she was selling her own unit.
Right.
And it's a little bit smaller than one I shot for her like a year or two, or no, during COVID, I think. Maybe it was more than 2 years ago that we shot that one. And that was a really nice one also. But that went for like 8-something.
Yeah. And,
I was talking to her and I said, well, what would your unit, based on that, what would your unit have sold for back then? And she was been like mid to, high 7s or something like that. And she's listed in the 6s.
Yeah.
So in Chester County, you're not really seeing that. So... like it's something is like what, 100,000 less than it would have gone for a few years ago when everything was really crazy. I mean, that's fairly unique in Chester County.
It is, but I think that has something to do with the other units that sat in that community and have driven the prices down. I mean, I think that's the problem. In that community, there were a bunch that were listed that really drove prices down. Yeah. And because a $600,000 townhouse in Kennett is not unheard of. There's new construction ones that are not great that have sold for $600,000 in a not great location with not great floor plans.
Right.
And they're selling for $600,000.
Yeah.
So, and then, you've got plenty of other townhome communities in Kennett that are all solidly selling in the 5s and close to 6. So it's not an uncommon price point.
Mm-mm. Can we talk a little bit about your one listing that took you a minute to get under contract? I think you went under contract once or twice.
Yes.
Fell through.
Yes.
Give us the background on the scenario, like what type of property was it, all those type of things, and like how you attacked it, and then we'll go into like what took so long and maybe like some of the challenges you ran into.
Well, I feel like we beat a dead horse on this one, didn't we? A little bit, but
not on this show.
What's that? Oh, not on this show. Got it. Okay. This property was a knock down and rebuild. Okay. So it was a new house.
Still had the same foundation though.
Still right? Same foundation. Right. Okay. So, it was a rebuild on an existing foundation, which is a fine game plan. Okay. I wasn't involved from the beginning. If I had been involved from the beginning, I think it would have been a different process. But I mean, you can't change that, and you can't change that.
You mean when you say from the beginning, meaning like in
we're going to buy this and we're going
to
build something new,
but like having your input, knowing what people want, right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's actually pretty important.
Well,
X factor in there.
Yes, and so I'm a total snob when it comes to flips and things like that, because I go at it a little bit differently, in my opinion. And I've got a creative background. I've got now the real estate background. I've got a little bit of a construction knowledge now because we've flipped so many properties and we've renovated so many properties. So at the very start of that process, if you're looking to flip a property or invest in a property like that and renovate it, you need to know who the end consumer is. And if you don't identify that end consumer right away, you're sunk. There was another listing in Westchester Borough about 2 years ago that was with one agent and didn't sell, and then went to another agent. And I remember I went through the house and it was impeccable. I mean, it was a beautiful house. It was well built, designed. I mean, it was just great. But it was in a community that it didn't really match the community, and it fell short of what the consumer that was buying it needed. So it was screwed from the start because it was a big enough house to support a family of 4 or 5, but it had no storage. And so what family is going to buy a house with no storage? I mean, it was completely not designed with the consumer in mind. It was designed like, we're going to build this beautiful house, and it was a beautiful house. So that listing I had was, to some degree, had the same problem. It was a fantastic layout. It was thoughtfully designed. It didn't have a finishable basement, which, again, unless you dug out and made it more finishable. But again, who's going to spend that? Who's going to do that? In my opinion, the house should have been catered more towards a downsizing couple, a couple that, if they had kids, could have been upstairs, or a couple that just needed main floor living. I think if it had been designed towards that, that would have been $1 million buyer every day of the week, because that segment of the buying public has a lot of money to spend. And it was in Westchester Borough, so it was a good location. I just think that the house ended up being not quite directed towards the buyer who was going to buy it. And that was the ultimate problem. And we listed it too late in the season and went up in price instead of keeping the price, or down in price when it should have. It was the classic scenario. It was now finally data in line. It was evidence of, you priced it too high, you're going to sit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I do know, I do work with a handful of agents that do operate the way you were suggesting would have been ideal, where the agent's involved from the beginning, saying, hey, like, this is what people are looking for. It's like, yeah, the builder knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
But also, like, when it comes to some features, or some aspects of the home that they just like, yeah, that would look great and be great and all that kind of stuff, but is it going to hinder the sale?
Yeah.
There's this one guy that works with this mainline builder. Fantastic work. Every home that I go into for this guy is just like spectacular, from the construction and the look and all of that type of stuff. But sometimes it's just like, it's missing something. And sometimes sometimes you can't even put your finger on what it is. Cause like, you look at the home on paper and it's like, it's awesome. But you go in there and it's like, I don't know. There's just something missing.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe there were a few things in that, in my opinion, there were a few things in that house that like, I would have liked to have seen differently.
Sure.
But in the end, you got it done. Now, what did you run into? So, like, talk about the pricing aspect of it a little bit more granularly. So you had wanted to price it at X, right? And they wanted to go at Y, right? And where was your first offer that you got on that didn't go? Was that closer to your number?
Well, the first offer came in $100,000 lower than where we went under contract. So, I mean, the first offer was kind of stupid, right? I mean, the buyer came in so low.
Now, did you counter that? Or?
Oh, yeah, and that's why we came up $100,000.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of silly.
And you were under contract twice or once?
Yes, twice.
Okay. Like twice, the second time was the final one?
The second time was the final time.
Okay, so the time that you went under contract and it fell through, how did that go?
Well, so this is a whole other subject too, because I want to talk about $1 million buyers at some point. Although I've had $1 million buyer recently and they don't fit the category, but I've learned some things as a listing agent of $1 million properties about $1 million buyers. So what it came down to on the first one was a repair that the buyers wanted that the sellers didn't feel as though was warranted. Justifiably was not warranted, but the buyers wanted it anyway. And the sellers decided they weren't going to do it. And the buyers just said, well, then fine, we terminate. And it was just 2 days before settlement. So it was a little surprising that they did terminate, because it wasn't a large sum of money. So
they lose the deposit?
No, they didn't lose the deposit.
2 days before settlement, and they got it back?
Yeah, because we were still within the inspection contingency.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was a silly thing on both sides, really. I mean, it was a silly thing for the buyers, silly thing for the sellers, because it was a negligible amount of money. And, of course, at some point, I thought to myself, well, I should just, cut my commission by that amount. But it's like, you know what? I did that for such a long time, and I work really hard. And on this one, I worked many, many months. And so, it's like, it's not my job to just cut my salary, for that. So I do think these things, but it wasn't my job to do that. So we went back on the market. Obviously, that's not always a favorable thing. Got the second buyer. That took about 2 weeks to get under contract because they wanted to do inspections again. The sellers were feeling like, what the heck are we doing here? The house is new. Why would people inspect? So the buyers did inspections, and they found some more things, and the sellers were like, you've got to be kidding. And then they just ended up fixing things. But it sold at a price that it really should have never sold for. Like, it should have not sold for that price. But
You mean higher?
Lower.
Oh, lower.
Yes, there's no reason why that house should have sold at that price. Yeah. And I say that now confidently because if we had listed at the original price, I think it would have been a total different. I mean, there's no way to go back in time, but my original price to list was even higher than where they settled now. So, I mean, it's all virtual. You know what I mean? Like you pick a list price, it's not real. Some people hang their everything on this list price, and it's just not real. Out of all the numbers in real estate, the list price is the absolute least important thing from a truth standpoint. Like it means nothing until a buyer validates that price.
Yeah.
All virtual.
But at the same time, I mean, it is one of the most important things because it's going to determine the fact, like you said, had priced at a different price point, we probably would have gotten more and been on the market for a hell of a lot less time. Right. But also,
it's the bait.
And sometimes the agent, right? The agent doesn't, I'm going to use the word trust here, and it's not trust in the agent to be able to do the job or whatever. Right. But there's a lot of times where I feel like the sellers do not trust the agent with the list price because I'd say the majority of good, competent agents will try to get the sellers to a price point that is going to bring the most amount of activity. But the sellers a lot of times have this end price point in mind. Right. So let's say, for example, it's, I'm just going to use a low number. So let's say agent says listed for 100,000. The buyer or the seller wants 115,000. Right. And they, the agent's confident we're going to get the most activity. And if it is going to hit 115, this price starting here will get you there, if not higher. Right. But the sellers just have this, they're stuck on this number that half the time they pull out of their butts, and they don't trust the agent to do their job, at least in that aspect a lot of times. Yeah. And it's like, what is the mentality? And a lot of times it's a negligible number. Like you were talking about, not saying specifically, but this one, you're like the argument over that inspection item was that repair was a negligible amount of money, especially at a $1 million price point. Right. And it's like, what is the psychology of that? Like, what are people thinking?
Well, you get too in the weeds, right? So I think an agent's job is to bring somebody out of the weeds and look at the big picture. But I think, to me, sellers need to get a grip on the fact that the price they want for their house, it just doesn't matter. I mean, the goal of what they need to net matters. The goal of what they want to walk away with matters. But the price that they want, it doesn't matter. It's the only way we're going to know what the value is of the property is to list it and get a buyer to make an offer, right? I mean, you can't, you can have an appraiser tell you it's worth X. You can have an agent tell you it's worth Y. You could think it's worth Z. The only person that matters is the person who's going to buy it and what they are willing to pay. And And, I want to get the value out of a property as much as the seller does, right? But the problem is you can't go on the market at a price that only matters to you as a seller. You've got to go out at a price that shows a value compared to everything else that's out there so that you attract enough buyers to get to a better price. Like it's just the way it works.
Agreed.
I mean,
but you have buyers and sellers right now. People will say that they're the most educated they've ever been due to internet, social media, whatever it is. Agreed?
Sure. Yes. Everybody
Right.
thinks they're educated. Yeah.
Right. There is countless videos talking about this exact topic. You've made a bunch of them. The information's out there. They just refuse to buy into it.
Right. Right. Until they're shown.
Yeah. But at a lot of times, extended periods of time on market, lower price than they could have gotten. And it's like the data is out there.
Yeah.
That most of the time the realtor is right in what they're recommending,
So, after as many years as I've been in real estate and after as many transactions as I've done, I still don't always think I'm right. You know what I mean? Like that's the funny thing. I'm not going to always pretend I'm right. This is what I've learned. This is what I believe is the right course. You know what I mean? Like, and I say, look, trust me on this price. If it goes higher, I'm happy to be wrong. I mean, in that case, I'm really happy to be wrong.
But even when you are wrong,
yeah,
most of the time, what you are suggesting is going to position them to get that higher price if a buyer is out there willing to pay it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you're going to create more demand that is going to get them there more times than not than when they go the other route saying, hey, let's start here and we'll work down if we have to. It's just after so many years of this being proven not to be the best way to do it.
Well, and the one thing that is yet to be disproven is speed of your reaction. Your reaction time is what gets you the most money.
What do you mean?
It's
Unpack that.
Fewer days on the market is going to get you a better price. If you're overpriced, you need to react quickly and change that price. So because you can't wait. Like the concept of waiting never works. Like
But so many times those sellers are like they strong arm the agent into listing at their price,
right?
And then quite often the conversation is had like, listen, we'll try this price, but we have to react fast, as you said,
right,
to put it where it needs to be if we're not getting the activity,
right,
and then it still most of the time results in an annoying conversation that you have to get them to come back down to reality. And sometimes they don't.
Right. No. And I mean, in the case of, the listing I had, it was, I had said very clearly, if we, we'll try this price, and there might be a unicorn buyer out there that is moving to the area that thinks this is a value and scoops it up really quickly. And if they don't, we've got to change that.
Yep.
And it was at the wrong time of the year. And it was like, well, it's slow now, so let's just leave it. Okay. And there wasn't motivation there. So again, if somebody's not motivated, you can't establish a motivation for somebody. So it was just a really sort of unfortunate situation. But I mean, I
think it was good in that situation because a lot of times the sellers will blame the realtor in those situations, and they didn't seem to do that in this one.
Well, and it's really, no, absolutely not. And they did not. And honestly, the second transaction ended kind of painfully too. I mean, the day of settlement was just another negotiation that happened. And so I just think the whole thing, to me, was an exercise in the seller losing leverage points along the way. And, when you start to lose your ground, you just don't have any choice, and you're just over a barrel. And it's a shitty situation, but it just happens, and you can't get around it.
The thing that's crazy about that is that like you're in Chester County. Mm-hmm. Market's generally always hot if you're putting a good product to market with a good price.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse to put yourself in those situations, and they do it themselves.
But
because that yeah, we were talking about like when we had conversations about that house, I was like, it doesn't have this, or I would have liked to seen this or that. None of that matters at the right price.
Right. None of that matters.
None of it mattered. Like, because it's like, yeah, it couldn't have this, but like when you ask a price that is not the right price, or at least at that moment in time, not the right price, that's when people start to pick things apart.
Yes.
And this one guy always says, money only matters in the absence of value.
Yes. That's a really good quote.
Yep.
And I think that, this is when a consumer is spending $1 million on something, it's a new expectation, and this is what I've learned about $1 million buyers.
Okay.
Except for the ones I had, my $1 million buyers, to me, were fine. They didn't have these unrealistic expectations. They were, but again, they were my buyers. So, but I've done not a lot. I've done a few $1 million listings lately, and I just feel as though the buyers have a different expectation. And it's a fine expectation to have, but it's like, man,
in what way,
it's
though?
Exhausting.
Explain that expectation you're talking about when you're now. Are we talking like $1 million, like just over $1 million? Are we talking multi-millions? Like
not multi-millions. It's just over $1 million.
Yeah. So what's that? What are you noticing about the expectations, the way they think?
I feel like there's a level of perfection that you want, and a level of we're not willing to be flexible on certain things, and I don't know. I look at things a little bit differently because I think because I've been involved in so many different situations. I look at little things and think, okay, that's a little thing. We can resolve that. And not everybody thinks that way.
Do you think they, in 2026, are justified to have those expectations at $1 million?
For sure. I mean, I think every consumer is justified to have that expectation. I mean, it's not about it. It's to me, expectations are all about setting them for people. So like you need to set an expectation, and I think that everybody comes into a scenario with their own set of expectations. But as an agent, I think it's really important to set expectations for your clients so that you can exceed them. It just makes your life a lot better.
I kind of know and understand where you're kind of going with that. Like, yeah, buyers, like you're going to be spending a crap load of money. You should get what you want within reason. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe that's not what you were saying, but like at $1 million price point, the way you were, articulating it sounds like you're saying these people like, oh, I'm spending $1 million, this is like a lot of money. It is a lot of money.
It is.
But in 2026, $1 million.
Oh, right.
I think $1 million is the equivalent of like $600,000 to $700,000. It's not a luxury price point anymore.
It doesn't feel like it's a luxury price point, but it's still, I think, a psychological number
for somebody. If you're stretching or just right there, yeah, I think that buyer is going to think that way.
Yeah.
But if you have, if you're comfortably in that price range and that's just what you're looking to spend, then I don't think those people think the same way, because we're pushing during COVID. I like, and even like now, I mean, I think it's kind of settled a little bit, but we're getting damn close to $1 million for like 2 to 2,500 square feet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's neat. It's cool. But like, I go into like $1 million. Like sometimes I'm like, you're lucky you're in Chester County because that home is not worth that kind of money. There's no freaking way.
Yeah.
You know,
It's very interesting. I feel as though in the last 18 months, there is no real rhyme or reason on why certain properties will sell for certain prices. Like I just don't.
Like your Water Glen properties.
Yeah.
I think that neighborhood in the area and some of those houses, I'm not balking at $1 million price point.
No, not at all.
In there. But there's other places I'm like, just because it says it's like, man, no fucking way am I paying that money.
Yeah.
For that house. And it's like, I would be picky to a point, meaning like, you're not going to give me a piece of dog do for $1 million. But like, I could see something that's like high 2 square footage, maybe like around 3, something like that. If it's really nice, I wouldn't balk at $1 million for a really nice house in a really nice area.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be big, you know?
No.
And I think that's like, because like a couple that does well between the two of them could probably afford $1 million house pretty comfortably.
I think so.
You know? Mm-hmm. All right. So I want to get to this topic. Some of it's kind of selfish on my end because of what on our end of the business, what we deal with on a regular basis. But I want to talk to you from the realtor perspective.
Make it controversial.
What I want to say is what is wrong with agents and picture day. So take me through the psychology of you for picture day. What are you thinking? Like,
gosh. Oh, this is really personal for you. Yeah. Okay.
Got it. Do agents take photo, video, whatever day seriously? Because sometimes I don't think they do.
Wow, this is really personal for you. I don't know. I'm sure some agents do. I'm sure some agents do.
But I would say the majority of them, I feel like they don't.
You know, I think sometimes it feels like it's a task and you get it on the calendar and you've got it scheduled and that's it. And potentially you don't go more into it any deeper than that. A lot of consumers, I feel as though understand the importance of it, but then there are some that don't, that's where your frustration comes up.
Some of it, I think it starts with the agents though. And I guess where I'm going is because like we run into, well, we don't have contact with the sellers ahead of time.
Right.
So it's kind of on the agents to get the place ready. And a lot of times.
Why don't you contact them ahead of time?
The sellers?
Yeah. Once the appointment's booked.
Well, I think you're talking about, and I've kicked this around a little bit of adding like increasing a level of service here, but also we're at a price point, right? Like there are agents that are willing to, they break the bank on listings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, not like breaking the bank, but they spend a lot of money on the listings, right?
Right.
And then there's other agents that will spend the bare minimum, you know, because it's, like you said, a task. It's something they're supposed to do, but they really don't put any, you know, really stock in it.
Yep.
And I think it's like there is a point we put a lot of we do a lot more than I think some companies do when it comes to providing level of service and things like that. But for us to, okay, now I have to add more time done for a listing on our end to, you know, time contacting, you know, a seller or going through with them to, you know, this is all the stuff you've been done. And it's not that I mind doing it, but we're not charging for it. And it's
but you're also not charging for the time you're wasting at the end when you get there and you're frustrated. So my challenge for you is invest the time in coming up with a stock email or something that when an appointment is set for photography, an email goes to the seller client and bullets a couple of things. Hey, we're excited to photograph your home. Here's your opportunity to make it worth more than you thought it was worth.
Yeah.
Okay. So hold on. Just And it's a stock email. It's a template email that once it's created.
Are they going to follow it?
Just wait. Yes. Hey, we're excited to be able to come photograph your home. Here's your opportunity to make it worth more than you think it is. If you'd like to get on the phone and have a 15-minute conversation with me on what needs to be done to make sure your photography looks like $1 million, schedule it below. You're going to have some people that do it and you're going to have some people that don't, but it's your opportunity to get on the phone with people and you're getting in front of the whole thing and you're essentially bulletproofing your appointment.
Sounds good. We do have a couple clients that do like, okay, they're very hands off. And they also, I don't usually have a problem with them because it's like, yeah, sometimes the houses look like crap, but they also don't care. Right. So they're like, you shoot it as is. So like if the property is not ready, it's usually not a hindrance because it's not a time waste because we just go in and shoot it and they're okay with it, which is fine. Like I would like it for it to be in good condition, but it's not. But they will send me the seller's contact information. And with this specific client and a few others here and there, we go and I'll call them like, hey, this is what we need to do. Make sure this is done, this is done, this is done, this is done. Oh yeah, okay, no problem. We get there and none of it's done. So it's like we have done what you're talking about, had that personal talk, and it still doesn't work. And I think because we're looked at a lot of times as just like another contractor, like the guy that cuts your grass or whatever, and it's not taken seriously. And I think that they just looking like, and a lot of times people think, oh, they're just going to tell me what I have to do when I get here. But it's like, no. And the other thing is like, I would, if you want I know it needs to be done. I can say, hey, yeah, you got to move this, this, and this. Let me add 2 hours to the time on site. Can't.
Yeah, but it's not about you investing more time with people. I think it's about you having a connection with them. And I think that it's up to the agent to say, sorry. You move my phone and I hear it vibrating. It's up to the agent to determine, hey, this is my client. This is the level of service they need, and to set the expectation that you're going to reach out and do that. And I think I don't think you have to be just a generic vendor or contractor. I think you can be that next level of, hey, our job is to make sure your house looks like $1 million.
I hear you, but I'm telling you, a lot of it is like, it's not that we haven't done a lot of what you're talking about, but we run into it. It's like, it just doesn't get done. Now, there are some cases where it's like, we have clients that it's like, they're always ready. No issues, in and out, boom, boom, boom. Once in a blue moon, they have a tough seller. Mm-hmm. I don't even complain about those because they're so good most of the time. Yeah. That it's like, ish happens, right? But one of the other things is that agents look at photo day as the time that they're going to come in and do their own room measurements, or they're going to come in and sit down with the seller and do this and do that and review the seller's disclosure. And hey, they decided they were going to do their staging on photo day and all this type of stuff. And it's just like, if we were charging double or triple, do whatever you want. We'll allot for it, but we're not. And it's like, and agents aren't willing to spend that extra money for that in a lot of cases. So we go in there and it's like, and it's just, and we're never not professional, and I'll never say this to anybody's face on site, but it's like a problem. Most agents don't, I feel like they don't like, what did you think we were, and the thing that they're hurting themselves in a lot of ways because we can't do our job as good as we could do it. Right. In some cases, because we're working around stuff, or like, hey, because you weren't ready and extra time was added, now we have to rush through this thing. Or now a bedroom gets missed because we can't work methodically because now we got to bounce around from the master bedroom. Okay, now let's do the basement. Now let's do bedroom 2. Now let's do the kitchen. Now, it's like, one thing I tell my team is like, work in counter or clockwise around all the rooms. That way you don't miss anything.
Like a bedroom.
Yeah. But like that's,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
and it's, but that's when those things happen, or,
Right.
And the other thing is like every time, and I've just gotten used to this, and most of the time it is in it, but when there's a rehab and it's a contractor there, or the seller is a
that.
flipper, we go there. Oh, the place is ready. Did you get eyes on it?
Right.
No, you didn't get eyes on it. And we
Right.
go and they end up costing themselves money because we got to go back.
Right.
Or whatever it is. I mean, those people, it's just, I think that's the nature of the business. The contractors or the flippers will tell you they're ready when they're not because they're trying to rush to market.
Well, that's another example of expectations that I think that is where agents need to set that expectation with their clients and say, hey, look, photo day is not about finishing up things. Photo day is about everything's done and ready to go because
right.
It's got to be.
And that's actually, if you do that, you are actually providing your seller a better level of service because their pictures are going to be better. The house is going to be more ready to show. Yesterday, I went to a shoot that was rescheduled because the seller was not ready. And I ended up was talking with the agent. It was the first time we worked with her. And she's like, yeah, kind of a bitch about getting the house ready because a lot of times the sellers say, oh, we're ready to go. And the seller's, antsy to get to market. But this agent is spending a crap load of money for the marketing. And the seller's just like, the place is a crap show.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I'm not spending that money if you didn't do your part. And I think that's, I was like, I love you. But it's not the norm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think that's like a problem I need to solve. And it's not just like one thing. It's not just talking to the sellers. It's not just talking to the agents. It's like a combination of the two. And it's like, if we talk to the seller, but the agent isn't on the same page and doesn't crack the whip, stuff doesn't get done.
Agents should just start using their cell phone and take pictures.
Some of them still do. Which
I'm kidding.
I know you are.
No
some
agent
of them
should use their cell phone for pictures.
Some of them still do.
Yeah. That's sad.
So, what is your process with okay, we talked to the seller, they decided to list, contract signed, whatever. What's your communication with them as to what they need to do? Is it you involved? Hey, you need to you go over and help them. Are you physically doing the work for them? Are you just giving them a checklist? How do you operate with your sellers?
It depends on the seller. Everyone's different. Honestly, I think my biggest criticism, and Rachel will be really happy to have me say this on video and for the general public to see. I think we all do things on too tight of a timeline. So, in some cases, people need to list quickly or do things. But I think the most successful listing processes that I've seen are ones that are really laid out and really spread out and give yourself the time to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish and not rushed. And we are guilty of it too. We try to rush things through. Dates are too tight. We do it all the time. But I provide a pretty clear timeline, and Rachel's good at holding me accountable to the timeline, and she likes to follow it. And she does really well with a process that is outlined. Sellers generally do really well with a process that is outlined. I think it's just taking the time to really detail that and understand what each step is about, and what you need to accomplish at each step. I think it's really important to have that clear timeline. And I think it's, we can get a house on the market in probably 3 to 5 days. Is that the smartest thing to do? Probably not. It's not really listed the same way as it would be if we spent 3 weeks getting ready to go on the market, which in a lot of cases, people could do if they just planned ahead. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to, what?
They don't plan ahead.
No, they don't. Most people don't plan ahead.
No.
I mean, I think, I've got some clients that, I've got a guy, Paul, he's pretty wonderful. And he reached out to me and said, I'll probably be selling in about 2 to 3 years. And I mean, you just had some questions up front. I'm like, good for you. I'm glad you're asking me questions now, because that means, even though it's 2 to 3 years away, you're going to be reaching out to me early enough that we're really going to set a good timeline. And Susan,
stress.
my first client on Waterglen, was great. I mean, it was 3 to 4 months that we spent planning that. And it was the right way to do it, because we had time to answer questions. She had time to do things. Now, I think towards the end, once she was under contract, she, there was a lot to pack, right? And so there was a lot to do. But I think that's the biggest thing, is that we try to rush through too much.
Yeah.
And if we just took a little bit more time to be more deliberate in each step, the process would probably be better for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of those areas, I start here because I like to see my clients grow, and I like to see them do well, and I don't really have direct contact with the seller in most cases. Mm-hmm. But I think one of I think as far as providing service to the seller, getting them on a timeline, 2 to 3 weeks, I think, is assuming the agent has all their back end stuff buttoned up, I think is a good time frame, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have time. One of the biggest benefits is you have time to leverage that listing for marketing purposes, right?
Yes.
That's from the agent's business perspective.
Yep.
But a 2 to 3 week period also on the seller's end, a lot of times eases a lot of the stress.
For sure.
Where instead of having that big spike of stress, it's just like a gradual, like, hey, well, yeah, there's stuff to do, but take a breath. We're good.
Well, you ran into frustration at my listing in Lincoln U. We tried to get on the market really quickly because of timing of Memorial Day, and there was a timing issue in there. But so that was a lot to do in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And so, but you're going to run into that when you try to
accelerate. Was that the
accelerate.
sellers pushing you?
No, not at all. It was me saying, realistically, this is the better weekend to get on the market if you can, because you don't want to be going on the market Memorial Day weekend. Yeah.
I get because of the Memorial Day weekend thing.
And that worked out. That. I mean, that was one of those things too that worked out beautifully, because that worked out well on so many levels, because it was an uncommon price point in Lincoln U. Common for the neighborhood, uncommon for the area. Mm-hmm. And we went coming soon on that 3 days prior to going on the market, which was a choice and a strategy. Thank God we did, because the buyer who ended up buying it was about to put an offer on another property, and they saw this one was coming soon and said, we need to wait. Then they saw it and they made the offer, and it was the buyer we needed and wanted. So, and that happened quick, thankfully.
Yeah.
Because it might have sat all summer had that buyer not come along.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Inspections were fine. We resolved a weird little quirky thing with the septic, which was the builder was really involved with, which, Cedar Knoll, good builder. They stand behind their work. So that was good. So we kind of managed to, and another example of a good agent on the other end. So everything worked out nicely. It appraised. It just checked all the boxes, and they settled at the end of this month. And it really, to me, the most awkward thing was, it was the first offer after the first showing, and the seller's natural response was, well, are we deciding this too quickly? And I said, well, are you going to feel the same way in 2 weeks if you don't have any other offers? And I'm like, well, good point. We should take this. And they took it, which was the right thing to do. And at the end of the day, when they look back, they're going to say, this was the right thing to do. Yeah.
You can get greedy, or you can...
Right. And it's just, sometimes you just have to, but it's hard, because after many years of insanity, it's really difficult for the general public to get their head around the fact that it might not always be chaos when you list. It might just be you get, a couple showings and one good offer, and that's it, and that's fine.
I think that's a good segue into the next thing that I'm thinking, because some people will tell you the market's softening. I think maybe there's some things that can justify that. But in general, stuff's still moving. But like the balance in demand from the buyers and the sellers, I don't know. I feel like it is becoming more balanced to an extent. But I'm also seeing this might be, at least in recent memory, the not necessarily chaos, but the amount of people that are feeling the need to rush to the market. Because I have agents that always rush. They're always like, do you have time today? Do you have time tomorrow? It's like, if I can, I will. But I was like, man, like give me at least 2 days.
Right.
But what I'm seeing is agents that are usually well ahead of schedule, give us plenty of cushion, are not. And some of their reasoning behind that, just as an example, is like home sale contingency. So as soon as offers accepted, they want to be on market like basically the next day, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing more of that now than I can remember in recent time. Like, what are you seeing that's like everybody seems to have to rush to the market right now? Like, is it just, I don't remember it being like this. Like, every agent is last minute right now. Not every agent, but a lot of them.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Like, agents that are usually 2, 3, 4 weeks, they schedule 4 weeks out, they're not doing that this year. And these are agents that are like, have a nice, well-oiled machine that are usually on top of plenty of notice.
Are these agents not as busy as they normally are?
No, they're extra busy. Like,
They're extra
crap load
busy.
of listing, but everything's coming up.
I don't know. I don't
Are you seeing? Well, like,
I don't
aside
feel rushed
from having,
generally. I don't like to feel rushed. So I mean,
but I mean, are you seeing, like, what are you seeing with like buyers and sellers and inventory? Like, what's going on right now? What are you seeing?
I see. I see. I mean, I don't know if I'm just speculating here because I don't know. I think that if there's a rush scenario, it's because somebody put something off to the point where they need to now rush, right? I mean, it's not. I've got a pipeline of upcoming listings and potential listings that, one I've been working with for almost 3 years now, and it's like at one point she might feel as though she needs to rush on the market. I don't think she's going to get there. I've got another one I'm thinking of that is probably going to list this summer. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to answer this because I don't feel rushed at the moment. I don't feel like I've got a ton of people that are feeling rushed. I mean, buyers are still, there's a urgency with buyers to get something in. I feel like it's really important for a buyer to be the first offer in. And
What's competition level like right now? Like, is it it was where it's like still like super hard for buyers? Or?
It's weird. Like, I'm licensed in Delaware and I can't stand going to Newcastle County right now because it's so competitive. I feel like Newcastle County is wildly competitive at the moment. And it just is. I mean, I have a buyer that's under contract now that, she saw 60 some houses. I mean, she put in like 6 offers and she's a cash buyer. And there's certain things that she learned along the way, about inspections. And
was
the
that
one
her?
who waives inspections always wins, which is just a sucky thing. I mean, like it's a shitty thing for buyers to have to deal with. The ones that waive inspections are the ones that win. Generally the case. But I am never going to encourage a buyer to waive inspections. I'm going to explain the value of doing that as far as winning. But there's also a big risk depending on the property.
Yeah.
But like Newcastle County is pretty competitive. Although I just had luck with first-time buyers that were the first offer in and the first offer they've made and they're under contract, that's a nice feeling. But again, Coatesville, I've got clients that are looking in Coatesville and their budget's between $600,000 and $800,000 and they've lost out on 3 houses.
In Coatesville, huh?
In Coatesville, right. So nothing wrong with Coatesville, but it's a price point that is not wildly common in Coatesville, in my opinion. I mean,
some parts of it.
Some parts of it.
Coatesville address, but not necessarily Coatesville.
Right, but I mean, it's just to me a higher price point than is, sort of the mainstream in that area, and they've lost out. I mean, it's multiple offers, and so it's like, okay, well, why is that so magical right now? And then the market is weird. at the moment, in my opinion. I mean, I had those 2 listings in Waterglen, which was great, solid community, solid sales, really, good processes. But they weren't, it wasn't a madhouse. At one point, every price point was a madhouse. I just feel like those properties are fewer and farther between, the madhouse properties.
Yeah.
I don't know where they are. And to me, there's no rhyme or reason in the price point either. Like I don't think it's a confusing market. And I think that everybody just needs to understand that.
Well, I think it's like a mix too. It's like you have some of that depending on the property. It's crazy, and then other ones that are just like, yeah, it's like a normal market. But like, are there as many buyers out there right now as there were in the last like 2-3 years? Like that are.
It depends on the price point. I mean, it appears that there aren't that many $500,000 to $600,000 buyers in Kennett for townhomes.
But I'm also seeing like million plus. They move pretty quick,
although they've slowed down. I think that million plus has slowed down a bit.
You think?
I do. But if you look at how many $1 million houses have sold in Unionville schools recently, there's a lot of $1 million houses that have sold. So how many $1 million buyers are there out there? I mean, eventually you run out, right?
Eventually we're all going to be $1 million buyers.
Well, yeah, or eventually you just run out. Eventually those buyers aren't looking, or those buyers are on vacation for the summer. Right. But I think and I've told my clients this repeatedly, there is so much that we have control over when listing your house. But the one thing we don't have control over is the buyers that are out there.
Right.
We have no way of knowing how many buyers are out there.
Yep.
And there's no way to measure it. So if you list at a price that is beyond what those buyers feel your house is worth, you're not going to know those buyers because the buyers aren't going to respond. They'll look, but they're not going to come see it.
Right.
So that's why the importance of going out at a number that buyers are going to engage. I just had a really good conversation with a long-term client of mine. I mean, she's bought multiple properties with me, and our relationship is buyer, agent, buyer, and now she's selling her house. And so now she's seller, and I'm the selling agent, which is a whole new relationship for us. And we've got a really good relationship, 15 years, and but it was like starting new because she's a seller now and I'm her seller's agent. But we've had a really good, very accelerated learning curve because she trusts my experience, right? But I'm new to her from a seller's agent standpoint. And we've been about $20,000 apart on list price. And every time, I mean, I'm not budging because I know that my price is the more palatable one to get the job done, right? So, but we had a conversation again a couple of days ago, and she's like, nope. She goes, I've learned, I trust you, I get the strategy, you make perfect sense, we're good. Like, so, but I know it's going to come up again before we actually list. I know it's going to come up one more time, which is fine. But it's really nice to have that sort of, it's nice to have that level of trust and that level of conversation with the person.
I hear some of these conversations when I'm in the shoots that the agents like they agreed upon price, but then like they're getting ready to sign like some documents or whatever it is, and the seller's like, well, why do we list here and blah blah blah. And I feel like a lot of times when I hear these conversations, the seller bringing up that higher price that I know the agents don't want to list at, are more like they're not necessarily telling or being overly aggressive, but they're saying it in a way that like they're kind of passively aggressively putting pressure on the agent, but they're still asking. And I hear agents that cave on that. And I'm like, you're going to regret that one later, you know?
I still can't get past the idea that agents are doing other things at photography other than just the photography. Like that drives me crazy. I can't understand that. Like, why would you want to do anything else there?
They're like, we're just going to be sitting here at the kitchen table doing this.
Why are they signing listing documentation when the photography is happening? That should be signed before. I'm not scheduling photography with you until I know I've got the listing.
And back to that while it's in my head. I understand if they work from home or whatever, but the ideal situation, and this is just kind of like, PSA for agents. You want the best work out of your photographer.
Right.
When possible, which I wish people would make it more possible, get out of the house.
Yeah.
Because what I notice is, so if we're doing stills and video and a virtual tour, that's 3 passes through the house that we have to do. Mm-hmm. When the sellers are home, I can't tell you how many times after pass 1, I'm like, I tell the seller, hey, I'm just going to go switch cameras. I'll be right back in. I come back in, all the lights are turned off.
Oh, stop it.
And then and sometimes that's a 15-minute process to turn the lights back on. And then I'll go back out. Okay, this time I'm just grabbing another camera. Again, all the lights. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what didn't you comprehend about it the first time? And then they will go, and another thing that I feel like in a seller who has worked their butt off to get a property ready, and sometimes they do a great job. Mm-hmm. In a seller's mind, because especially when they work their ass off to get the property ready, because they did that because they want to put their best foot forward and they want to get the most money for their house, the seller is never done when it comes to that. The amount of times that like the seller will be, and I don't care, you don't want to watch what I'm doing, that's fine.
Yeah.
But they will watch from the angle that I'm shooting, and they will reevaluate the room that they put all this work in to get it ready. And they're like, oh, should we move this or should we do that? And it's like, it's not a bad thing to do that, but like you were fine in the first place. And it's like, I have to kind of judge, like, do I have, if I set the precedent on shot number 1 that you're going to move something that I'm going to retake photos and this is going to go on for the entire shoot, do I have the time to let you do that?
Yeah.
And all those type of things. And it's like, I understand them. And the seller doesn't do this. This is like a one-off for them, So they are going to, but they're just looking at it and it's like, it happens a lot. They're never done. They're always like what they thought they were done. And then seeing the photographer and what they're doing, they're like, oh, maybe we should do this. And I'm like, oh God. And in my head, I'm just like, but back to your switching from buyer's agent to seller's agent with the same person.
Yeah.
What does that change look like? I understand that there's a difference. Like they're bulldog in one aspect, and then now it's something that's more close to them. It's their home that you're selling.
Yeah.
What changes in that relationship?
It's funny. In this case, I don't know if my client who is now selling this property, I don't think she has the same personal attachment to the property that I would have expected her to have. Her motivation is all financial, which it generally is, right? So as a buyer, when I was working with her, it was all about the numbers. It was because they were investment properties for her. So she had to make sure the numbers made sense. And she's done a really good job at building a portfolio of properties that she has because she was very diligent with her numbers. In this case, I don't think she's overly emotional about being attached to the house that she's in. Now, she bought something new, so they're in a new house. So maybe her focus emotionally is there because she's building a new nest and kind of thing. And from the property she's selling, she's just looking to get out of it a price that she feels is fair. So in this case, I think it was a pretty easy transition. She's also really smart. And she runs a business. And so she's very level-headed.
Different mentality.
It is a different mentality. So I think she is able to, and plus she's going through a lot at the moment. So there's a lot happening in her world. I don't think she has time to be overly emotional about the sale of her house. So I feel like in that case, things are going pretty smoothly.
Okay, so give me a more generic, normal.
I mean, I think with respect to the house in Westchester that I had on the market for a while, I think that was a really interesting dynamic. It was siblings. One was
You helped them buy that too?
No. Oh no, but buyers. But I want to talk about like sellers, emotional sellers, in a sense. I mean, I think one was the wallet and one was the creator. So
Both sound like a headache.
no, they were great, but,
I know.
one was the wallet, one was the creator. And so, when you're talking about a creative personality, and what I think is miraculous about Austin is that he is not only a great builder, but he designed the place, which was, you don't find contractors and builders that can actually design something frequently. You just don't. It's a different skill set.
Most of the time, those are the worst houses that are built.
Well,
When it's not like their normal thing.
Well, they think they're a designer, right? And so, but Austin in this case did a really good design, and he picked all the finishes too, which he's like a triple threat in my opinion.
He did a nice job with that place.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of things. I think, but again, he was very emotionally connected to the house, which
see that.
Not a bad thing, but it's a different dynamic, right? And then you've got the financial part on the other side. So
you're going to look at the validation of the buyer with whatever price it ends up being. They're going to take it more as because it's a labor of love, I guess, that you can.
Yeah,
I can see that being
the buyers of that
emotional.
house. I feel like every buyer on that house that was hyper, their expectations were astronomical. They really had hyper elevated expectations for that house, beyond what I think was needed, but it is what it is. But I think it's to me, I've been really lucky. I think a lot of the clients that I've worked with on the sales side, and I'm very buyer oriented. I started my career working with buyers. I still love working with buyers. I love that process. It can be very involved, but I like that. I like getting to know people. I like getting to know their personalities. Working with somebody as a buyer and then as a seller at the same time is very interesting. If you can start with them as a buyer, you get to know them better, so you understand their personality. So I think it's easier for me to manage the personality on the sales side because I already know it, right? Where I feel as though sometimes I'm challenged is when I meet a new seller that is only a seller and I don't have the time to get to know them the same way. And it's more of a pitch. And I'm not necessarily the best pitch person. And I know what I'm doing, but I'm not a pitch person. I'm a relator. And I like to kind of get to know somebody. And I've got an example recently where I went out on a listing appointment about 2 weeks ago, maybe it was 2.5 weeks ago now. And I've been connected with this person for about 3 years. I've sent postcards, and so there's been contact. And when he reached out to list, I was like, this is great. And I went, and I think I really connected with him and his wife, but his son was there. And his son was just coming at me with things. And eventually I looked at him and I said, how many houses have you sold? What do you mean? I said, how many houses have you sold? Because I own a condo in Florida. I'm like, okay, great. So you own a condo in Florida. I said, our experience is not even comparable, you and I. So we can keep arguing and you can keep coming at me with the things that you're doing, or you can trust in the fact that I've sold 800 plus properties. I've been involved in 800 plus transactions and that I kind of know what I'm doing.
Did you?
And I think that was an interesting moment because I was like, I'm not sitting here. This is, first of all, it's your parents' house and I'm having a nice conversation with your parents. You're exercising your right as firstborn or whatever you are, and you're coming at me. This is where, again, I was thinking, what would Maureen do? And Maureen would not have reacted the way I reacted.
Were you snippy or?
I wasn't snippy. I was direct. And I think
you did this right in front of the parents?
Yeah. But my direct probably comes across as a little snippy sometimes because of my personality, but I was direct. I wasn't sarcastic, which, I'm fluent in sarcasm. So I was not sarcastic.
No, I have no idea what you mean.
I know. But I think at the end of the appointment, the parents really understood my strategy, really understood where I was going. And when I reached out to them a couple of days later, they said, well, we're going to interview a couple other agents. I thought, oh man, I was like, okay, I guess that means I really failed. And then in subsequent conversation, it felt like it was the right thing to do. is interview several agents before you decide. And I totally agree with that. Like, I mean, why would you just commit to the first one you talk to just because it sounded good? I mean, yes, definitely compare me against other people because I'm going to do the process differently. And I want you to trust in the process on how I'm going to do it. So if talking to a couple other agents helps prove that, great, go for it. Now, I still haven't heard one way or another which way. And I meant to shoot him a message this morning before I came. But
do you think the son was he coming at you with just questions because like he was trying to be a hard ass and maybe he thought he was smarter than he was? Or were the questions more like, I just want to make sure my parents are taken care of kind of questions? Because I could see people doing one or the other.
It was he really felt, no, in my opinion, he felt as though he could sell the house himself. Because he said, he'd said that. He goes, well, I can sell this house myself. I'm like, you should. I said, go for it. You probably save your parents a lot. You save your parents some money. I mean, I endorsed that. I was like, go for it. If you think you can sell it, sell it. This should be an easy house to sell. I go, you think that? It might be. It might not be. What happens if it's not easy to sell? What do you do then? Well, what do you mean? I mean, how do you know how to vet? Do you know how to vet a buyer's financial qualifications? Do you know how to compare and contrast the different?
It's not all about the price when it comes to the offers.
Terms in the contract. Do you know? I mean, is it?
When people think about selling their own house, they're really thinking about, hey, I can throw it on the internet and I can get an offer. Right. Yeah, you could.
Right.
You could do that.
Right.
But I always says the agents really earn their paycheck. I mean, they earn it in like their marketing plan, all that type of stuff. Yes. But they really earn the paycheck when they're dealing with all the things that a seller doesn't see every day.
Right. Right.
Because it's like there are situations that agents who do this all the time, they'll run into them and they'll be like, shit, I haven't dealt with this before. But you have previous experience dealing with things in that ballpark that will help you handle that better than somebody who sells a house, once every freaking 2 decades or whatever it is.
Right.
So, yeah, I can see that being... I can totally picture the way you talk to him.
Yeah, he was so nice in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it became like this shift, this power shift.
Did you do one of these? Like,
I know, right. No, I did not appreciate the whole, like, trying to be alpha suddenly. Like, I'm not, that's not me either. So, like, I'm just not.
No, but I mean, like, if he's standing there and he's basically undermining you the whole time, it kind of doesn't help your situation.
Well,
anyway.
He wasn't the whole time. He did at the end.
Yeah.
It's almost like he was trying to prove something at the end. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Because it's like, we just had a really great conversation and led all up to this. And so it'll be curious. I think it'll be a big win, in my opinion, if I end up getting the listing. I don't know if I'm going to or not.
You're going to see him go up as a FISBO.
Potentially.
So here's one for you. So with Pinterest and HGTV and everything like that.
Pinterest, I haven't heard that since
2008. People look at things for like, hey, what ideally it could be and all of that.
Yeah.
And, you'll hear people talking about like with all of the content and stuff that's out there that buyers will come in and they just want, especially younger buyers, they just want place to be perfect. Hold on. Okay. But do you and I think that was that way for a period of time. There's probably still some of those. But do you think because of the way things have been in recent years, the competition that's out there, do you think that that's not as much the case anymore?
I think for some buyers, it's always going to be the case because that's who they are, right? So I think there's some buyers that are absolutely going to buy on visual and that's it. And they want perfect and that's what they want, which is fine. I think my experience lately is that buyers are a little bit more reasonable with what they're looking for. They understand that the market's competitive. They understand that they're going to have to do some work to some things. But I always outline that up front in my buyer consultation. I talk about, what are you in the mood to do? What's your tolerance for renovations? What do you, are you willing to replace carpet? Are you willing to update the kitchen? Are these things that you're okay doing?
Do you think because renovations and just upgrades to houses right now. Everything's so expensive. I mean, what my parents did their kitchen for, years ago, that's what a bathroom costs now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you think people, if they are not financially in a position where they're going to be able to afford that stuff, they're not going to be able to afford it for a long time or potentially even ever to do everything that they would want to do to the house? Do you think that they should be more, 10 toes down and like wait to find a home that more meets their needs?
I always encourage my buyers to figure out what their, top 3 non-negotiables are and just stick to it. I mean, like I say it's going to take you extra time and you're going to have to be patient. But if those are your 3 things, then stick to it. Don't waver on that. And I've asked people in the house, like, well, we can do that. We'll get to this. We'll get to this. We'll get to this. I'm like, okay, but can you live in this house the way it is for 6 to 12 months?
Or longer.
Right. But as I start with some point, yeah, we should be fine. Like, okay, so a year from now, if you haven't done this, are you okay with that? Yep, we're good. And I generally also try to have buyers focus on the things that aren't changeable. Like, if they've got a dog and they want a fenced yard, and focus on that. Like, is the yard fenced? Are you in a location you want to be in? Does it have the layout you want? If it's the things that are not changeable that work for them, I get them to focus on that.
With the guidance you said you were talking about giving these people, like, hey, we want to buy this house, but are you okay if this doesn't happen, or if you're still in this position, or whatever it would be?
Yeah.
How many buyers, I mean, not that you have that actual data, but do you think, would more buyers make a decision on a house that they would hate later if you didn't bring those things up? Or do you think most of them would come to the right conclusion anyway? Take those people, for example. If you didn't bring that up, would they have bought that house and maybe not have been happy?
I can confidently say that I've talked more buyers out of buying properties than talked into buying a property. So I get, from my experience, I've definitely talked buyers out of it. I do think, and one of the things I'm most proud about in my career is that I would say the majority of my buyers are really happy with the house that they bought. And they're really comfortable, really set. Like and I love that. Like, I love more than anything that these buyers are in properties that they're really happy with. Like, I think that's a great thing. Like, to me, that's a measure of success. Now, it doesn't necessarily promote future transactions, right? In a sense, like, as some agents say, well, 5 to 7 years they'll be selling that house, or not, because they love it so much they want to stay.
But it probably does build. If you get them, turn them away from one property, put them in a property that they end up loving. I mean, that bodes well for a long-term.
Yeah, there was something happened recently, and I don't remember what buyer it was, and I don't remember the exact situation, but I remember them saying to me, I'm glad you said what you said, because that was not the right house for us. And I forget what it was, and it was a really good moment, because I was like, wow. Because I am kind of direct when I will share opinions sometimes.
Yeah. I had this. I think, in my opinion, I'm good at sales to a point where it's like I'm good at recognizing blood in the water, for lack of a better term, and know when to like strike. And I don't say that in a bad thing. Like I won't. For example, I was shooting a condo in Philly last week, and the agent wanted to do drone pictures. And after seeing the property, he was like, well, do we really need this? And I'm like, I could have said yes, he would have done it, but I'm like, they're not really going to be that great. And I'm like, I won't say something you don't need. If I really think it'll benefit you, I'll tell you. But when I had my real estate license, I had a friend of mine who was looking at a condo in Devon. Was it Devon? Yeah, I think it was Devon. Good place. Like I did not feel like I sold him a piece of shit, but I'm pretty sure I talked him into that property. And 6 months later, he was like, I wish I didn't buy this. Well, it's like you needed to speak up, but also like, I wouldn't want to say I pushed him into it, but like I got that one over the hump. And I'm like, I didn't feel bad about it from the perspective of I sold you something that was a piece of trash just to get paid. But I did, and it wasn't even, honestly, it wasn't even for the paycheck. It was just more like, you know, getting to the finish line. And I think in retrospect and moving forward, I was more asking questions in the realm of what you were just talking about. Like, hey, like, you know, is this suit your needs? And I think, and this was very early on when I had my license, but I was like, yeah, I could see the reverse of what you're saying, that a trusting buyer, if they are trusting the agent, could be steered pretty easily into a property that maybe isn't right for them.
For sure.
You know? Mm-hmm. So I think that's maybe an underestimated value that a realtor can bring to a buyer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, without a doubt.
But, well, let's.
You need to ask me 3 controversial questions. Like
three controversial questions.
Something off the cuff. Like, come on, I'm always so much better when you just throw something at me that I'm not expecting, and it's way more entertaining for people too. To like catch me off guard and to really get me to say something that is probably cringeworthy, but you know, I'm happy to do that. Come on, make it good.
What is the most recent time you can remember having to bite your tongue with another realtor? What was the situation?
Oh, God. It's frequent, but I don't bite my tongue a lot, which probably gets me into trouble. I recently had one agent tell me that she goes, "Oh my gosh, you're funny." Like, yeah, I am really funny, except for with you because you make the process so painful. There are just some agents that I wish would stop and retire and go do things.
Why?
Just because I don't think their motivation isn't right. Their motivation's not right. I just don't get it. I don't get their model. I don't get why they have business. I don't get it. I don't get it. But not everybody can be like me, because that would be a really annoying place.
Well, you know,
realtor. Can I shout about somebody that I don't know very well, but I just have infinite respect for?
Sure.
Is Kit Anstey. I mean, what a nice conversation I had with him yesterday about his listing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just you can tell he's an utter class act. Mm-hmm. I mean, he just is as delightful as can possibly be. And he's charming and nice, and we had a good conversation, and he said he's known you for a long time. He might have been your first client, maybe, or something. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. See?
He was one of my first clients.
That's pretty cool.
I still have clients. So this year, as of February, we were 20 years. Okay. This is 20 years for us.
Wow.
And I have, I would say 3 to 5.
So wait, you started this when you were 22?
Yeah. 3 to 5 people that are like been with us from the very start. So somewhere in there. I mean, it could be more than that.
Who else?
This lady, Christine Warstall. I don't know. I can't think of them all off the top of my head, but I know there's people that have been with us pretty long. And even like in some 15 years, some 10 years, some like, you know, the time flies. And it's cool because you get to see those people grow. Mm-hmm. Like I really stand by it. Like I see on our end, I wish I could quantify it more, but like agents, when they go from doing the bare minimum to actually getting serious about their marketing, like to really see, like sometimes it's not, you can't point directly at one thing, specific thing they're doing, but it's just like, it's a shift in their business somewhere. They're like, okay, we're going to put more emphasis on this. And it's like just a momentum thing. Mm-hmm. And you just see them just and I like to think we have something to do with that. Another crazy thing about being in business that long,
Yeah.
and I think about it more with some of our older clients, I've seen some of them pass away.
Oh.
And it's like they were not young when we started with them, but 20 years later, it's like they're getting up there. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to ask you a direct question.
Okay.
What is your favorite thing about me and your biggest criticism of me? And I want honesty. Start with the criticism. I was raised Catholic, so start with the criticism.
So I can make you feel better afterwards?
Yes. Yeah. I always like to start with the hard part. What's your biggest criticism?
Biggest criticism of you?
Yes. This should be fun for people to watch.
I don't necessarily have... fuck.
You do. It's probably right there. You just don't know how to say it. Okay, then what do you like the best about me?
That you are... You're one of those clients that I get to see multiple sides on. I get to see you from the business aspect, the personal aspect, and you're generally... You don't take things too seriously. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate how much you care in a lot of ways.
Okay.
I mean, as we talked, and I kind of want to say that maybe like sometimes like you don't take, in some cases I think you maybe don't take things as seriously as
I should.
Sometimes.
Okay. I can see that.
But I think that's just, I don't want to say it's jealousy. I think that's just, I see little things, and it's not just you. It's like realtors. Mm-hmm. I think the business, and I'm not, this isn't, I think there's flashes of what I'm about to say in you sometimes. Mm-hmm. But I see it more in a lot of agents where, like, because you can make so much money so fast in this business, that I think a lot of agents are thinking about how they can get to a point where they can just screw off for the rest of the year. I'm not saying you do that.
Right.
But I think as opposed to how can I, like, you show me how to make, 6 figures in 3 months. I'm going to be like, I'm going to make $400,000 this year. Versus some agents are like, okay, I made 6 figures. Now I'm going to screw off for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I never go, my goal is never the screw off. Like I would rather stay consistently steady.
The one time that you said, I talked to you in the morning, we were about to shoot some content. You were in a great mood. I'm like, and then an hour later you're like, yeah, I'm spiraling. I can't do this. I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah. But that's welcome to real estate. I mean, it's like 1 minute you could be at the highest of highs, and then the next minute you get a text or something and it ruins everything.
I don't get that luxury.
No,
in my business.
Yeah, I mean,
I think agents don't have. I think they overindulge in the luxury of the freedom that comes along with being a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. And it's like I see them. It's like, oh, you're in a dry spell. Well, maybe you should have kept your foot on the gas when you had the opportunity.
Yeah, you always have to keep your foot on the gas.
But a lot of them don't.
No, I know.
And then it's like, but those are the ones that bitch and moan that they don't have any business. It's like, maybe you should spend a solid year where you're not worried about taking all your vacations and stuff, and build up the steady business, and then you can start doing that. But I have clients that take half the year off. Like they're on vacation for like a quarter of every year.
Yeah. Well, what day is today? Is it the 17th? I feel as though I need to really ramp it up for the next 2 weeks so that I can be a little bit more chill in July and August. But I'm not sure
don't know.
that's going to happen.
What I like about being in this industry is like there's a lot of things like I work my ass off and like work 8 days a week. I tell people, which is true, but there are things that come along with it. Like I just got invited to through one of my clients, got invited to a golf outing, which allowed me to play hooky and do some networking at the same time. But it was fun.
Saw that.
I saw that, like yes. that stuff's fun, and like you get.
Yes, you didn't talk to me during that 36 hours. You ignored my texts.
Well, I was in the zone.
I know. That's all right.
Putting like a maniac.
When are we getting Jackie in this chair?
I've had her on the podcast before.
I want Jackie across from me.
Oh, set it up. We can set it up.
Set that up.
I think that would be fun, but you're going to have to come with a question. Okay, I have a question.
Hold on, wait. I'm going to look in the camera and
Here's
say,
a question.
Jackie, I want you in that chair. Right there, Jackie. Right in that chair.
All right.
Sam Walls.
I'm a seller.
I feel like that's the next level for these podcasts.
What?
Agent against agent.
Like death match.
Yeah.
Where we're a moderator.
Yeah, like Sam Walls. I want him in the chair across from me too.
That would be cool.
It would be.
All right. I'm a seller.
Dinosaur and young buck. Because I'm officially a dinosaur now. I hate it, but I'm a dinosaur.
You're not a dinosaur.
I'm a dinosaur.
You're only a dinosaur if you let yourself be a dinosaur.
I'm a dinosaur.
Have
you seen the TikTok videos?
Huh?
Roar. What is it? What sound does a dinosaur make? And then the guy goes roar, and then has the picture of the dinosaur going roar.
I saw this one where they're like, women can't make machine gun noises with their mouth, and this guy goes, "Hold on a second," goes ask his wife. She's like, "Pop, pop, 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 pop," and then the daughters are all like, "Pop, pop, pop," and then he goes into the sun. It's like, this is easy, whatever, and it's like. I have to start asking women that. I wonder if it's actually how they view it.
I don't know.
It's pretty funny. Okay.
What's the
I'm
question?
a seller.
Okay.
So my neighbor and I list our identical homes on the exact same day. Why do you push so hard for me to cut the price of mine?
Oh my gosh. Your neighbor, identical homes, same day.
I can see it happening.
Why do you push so hard to cut mine? Well, oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't like this question.
One thing you tell a seller to hide from a buyer that you'd never want your family to deal with.
One thing I tell a seller to hide from a buyer? Nothing. You don't hide anything.
What do you mean?
What would you hide? I mean, hide your toiletries under the sink, but you don't hide anything about the house.
Yeah, I wish more of them would do that. These questions suck. What are some spicy, controversial
here we go.
questions that I can
controversial.
Ask a filterless realtor
dinosaur
on a podcast that I don't want them to be cookie cutter or average. I want them to be something that if he is truly unfiltered will get some crazy shit out of him.
What'd you get?
It says career suicide questions.
Career suicide questions? That's
What's
fun.
the biggest lie the real estate industry tells consumers?
The biggest lie real estate agents tell consumers?
The real estate industry tells consumers.
I don't know. I mean, I don't.
Well, most agents will tell them that they should buy versus rent. That's not it. Not always. I don't think it has to be a lie, but I think in a lot of cases that it could benefit. That maybe it's not beneficial to somebody, but a realtor will never tell somebody to
rent.
To rent.
Well, okay. So to this day, 17 years into the business, I still hate that people will think of me as a realtor first. Like, I hate that. I can't stand that. Like, I don't want to be lumped in with like the average realtor. I still don't. Because I just don't think that it's necessarily a very, I just don't think it's a really great distinction, to be honest. I love what I do, but I consider myself very different than most stereotypical agents. I have a client that was moving from Texas, that the best viable option was to rent for a year because the purchase part wasn't working out for them. It wasn't working from a budget standpoint. It wasn't working from what they needed for their family. And I just said to them, I'm like, guys, you should just rent. Just rent for a year. Get to know the area. Make sure you're where you want to be, because they went from Garnet Valley, insistent upon Garnet Valley, which their budget did not allow, because Garnet Valley is off the charts. He grew up in Delaware. So then they said, well, when we just buy in Delaware, even though we don't want to. I'm like, okay, well, how does that work out? Like, how does that fit your goal? If you don't want to live in Delaware, how does buying in Delaware help you? So they're renting in Delaware in a very nice community. And it could be a community that they fall in love with, because it really is everything that they want, right? What they described that they want for their family is this community. It could end up being the perfect community for them. But they're renting for a year, which gives them the opportunity to determine that this is the right place for them, which means their purchase in a year from now is going to be way better than it was now under the gun.
That's one reason for sure that, like, hey, maybe it's like, it's really not the right thing. And but I still think in a lot of those situations, if a realtor thinks they're going to buy, they're not going to talk. They're not going to have the conversation you're just talking about, because
I know they're going to buy.
Well, I know, and that's you, but I'm saying a lot of realtors, they want to get that. They want to get that sale
potentially, and that's why I don't want to be lumped in with a lot of realtors.
True. But here's like the other thing too. So I was reading something. It was like the average time in a home is like 13 years or something like that, right? And they did the math, and they were saying, based on rent prices, yeah, the rent may potentially be more than or equal to a mortgage, but when you add in the cost of owning a home and maintenance and all those type of things, it's still cheaper to rent. But in no video that a realtor is doing that's saying, hey, the renting versus owning, that never comes up. They never will point. I'll do
that video. But let me tell you another short story. This could be interesting or not. So I was working with a buyer out of state for about a month and a half. And they kicked me to the curb about a week and a half ago when we were about to see a property that I previously had listed, that I had some insight on, that they kicked me to the curb because I did not outline for him the elements of the disclosure that he should be concerned about.
All of it?
What's that?
All of it?
All of it. And the inspections that I shared. So because there were inspections that we did, there were inspections that other buyer did. There are tons of information I share with this guy. And this guy is smart guy. And he takes every document, uploads it into ChatGPT, and asks for a summary, which I thought was brilliant. I was like, okay, well, look at you. Good for you for doing that. And he goes, yeah, but I want you to do that for me. And I was like, okay, I could do that for you. That's the value you add. I'm like, no, it's not. The value I add is not summarizing what's in a document that you can read. That's not my value. My value is telling you how to solve those problems. He goes, well, this water issue is a huge issue. I'm like, no, it's not. It's $1,500 for a UV light, and then it's solved. That's not an issue. That's my value. Telling you that that's not an issue and solving it for you.
Yeah.
And then I also, in the same conversation, as he's coming at me with things, I said, I came up with a strategy to make an offer on this property we were supposed to see that he determined was not livable because of the water issue and because of something else. I'm like, okay, well, that's your determination that it's not livable. There were people living in the house perfectly fine. So it is move-in ready. It is ready to move in. It is something you can live in. If you've got an issue with it, that's fine. You're allowed to have those issues. I can help you solve them. But I gave him a strategy on how to approach this house, and that he said, that is great. What a good idea. I'm like, that's the value I add. How do you not see that as a value? So anyway, kicked me to curb because I didn't organize the disclosure for him.
Well, you should have been on your shit.
Well, and it was funny. And it probably was a little bit more complex than that. But I wasn't afraid to be like back at him. Like, I know the value I add, and it's not regurgitating documentation that I give you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Biggest thing agents fake on Instagram.
Oh my gosh. Not every agent, but there's some agents that definitely fake their knowledge and their sincerity and their actual like personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not you.
Not me. Nope. What you see is what you get. There was one agent that I was so disappointed in actually having a deal with him.
Who?
I can't say. I'm not that unfiltered. No, I'm not going to cover it and say. He's the same first and last initial, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, he was just so impressive on social media. And then in person, it was like, bro. Ugh, awful. Hated it.
Yeah.
There was nothing contractual or nothing procedural about it. It was all just like, bro. I'm like, you picked the wrong one.
You know what would be fun to do would be to label and categorize different agents. Like, what are the categories of agents? Like, there's actually probably a significant number of categories.
That's probably easier for you to do than...
Oh, yeah. It would be. But it would be funny because it's like...
If you come up with the categories, I can drop the agents in there.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Like rank the or rate the whatever. But if I put them in the categories, you'd be like, yeah, that type of person. But I don't know. I've been so impressed with some agents that you would think. I've seen agents in the last couple of years that were more like had their license part-time and decided to finally take, like, okay, I'm going to take this serious. And then they start really getting and like are really starting to excel. And I think it's fun to watch. I like watching people succeed.
I find social media very confusing. Obviously, I'm involved in it, but there are certain agents that I see are selling all the time. But then you look at their numbers. I'm like, why don't your numbers reflect how much you're selling? Because your numbers don't show it, but yet your social media shows that you're selling all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that disconnect. And then I look at myself and I think, I don't really promote enough about what I sell because I am most of the time selling something, but I don't really promote it a lot. Although we're getting better about that.
Yeah. I mean,
but who wants to see that? I mean, does anybody?
Well, here's the thing. I get agents like, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see this. It's like a lot of times what we run into is like the agent's not comfortable with doing something that would be beneficial to them.
Yeah.
You aside, maybe it applies to you, maybe it doesn't in some ways. But I think like some agents are like, oh, the agents that are always going out there that are always saying this is how many millions of dollars I sold, this is that, this is this. But it's like, okay, you're saying you don't want to do that. You're pointing out agents who are doing that and saying how much you hate it. But in reality, what you're telling me is that you're jealous of what they're doing because the agents who are blowing the doors off the business are the ones that are at least to some point doing the stuff you say you hate. So why are the successful agents doing certain things that you say you hate and aren't willing to do?
Yeah.
And you're complaining about it, but you're not doing that kind of business. It's like something's like you might have some agents need to get out of their own way of like, it doesn't matter what you hate. If it's working, sometimes it's working. Like you may not like to do certain things,
right,
but like
sometimes it's called work for a reason.
Right. And it's also like, it's like, I always find it interesting when agents talk to me about specific agents that they're using as like, I like what this person's doing. You're not willing to put in the work to do what that person's doing. So you can't,
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, if you're making enough money for yourself and you don't want to do any of that stuff, fine. You can just keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to go to that level, I mean, it's like, it is work.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody like you talk to this one agent in Florida that she does a good chunk of business and she does a lot on social media and all that. And it's like, so how much time are you actually spending on this stuff? A lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's not that it's hard work per se, but it's time invested.
It is.
And I think in a lot of ways, that's a peeve of mine that agents aren't willing to put in time past a lot of agents are that like 9 to 5 or less mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually was having I was talking with Sam Walls the other day. Mm-hmm. Just talking, like we shoot the shit when we're at listings and whatever. And I said, so what time do you, because this guy is always on the phone.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm surprised his phone hasn't like died on him just because he's using the hell out of it. And I said, so what time do you turn it off at night? And he's like, there's no, you don't. He's like, when you're going for growth, there is no hours on it.
Right.
You work until what you need to get done gets done.
Right.
And that's not the norm.
It's not the norm. And he's not the norm. And like I knew he wasn't the norm since I first started, following him on Instagram and on his social media.
Yeah.
He definitely is a force. I mean, I think he's really interesting. And I called him once he moved to EXP. I gave him a call. I'm like, what's this?
Yeah. Oh, he's got some. I'm probably not supposed to say anymore, and and I'm sure you all know it soon. But he's
focused.
Like,
he is focused.
That is the right word.
Yes.
He's focused,
and it's really great. And I love to see that activity. And I told him, I said I'm going to praise him every chance I can get. I mean, like on a post or something. Like I'm going to praise him because I think this industry is really lacking in interaction, like supportive interaction.
What do you mean?
I mean, just it's like I think it's more competitive. Yeah, I feel like there's still a higher level of competitiveness than supportiveness.
Well, see, here's the thing,
and
there's a ton of business to go around.
There is,
but here's the thing. I would like to know the percentage of the agents who sell 1 to 3 houses a year or transactions a year, whatever it is. If you take all those agents, They're not the most serious. They're usually not worried about the money. They just do it because it's whatever it is. And they're taking the only reason they have the opportunity at that business is the agents who are actually really good not reaching their potential. I think if the best agents, like there are like the best that are operating at the highest level, and then there are agents that could be there that choose not to get themselves there.
Right.
You would honestly clean up the industry from the crappy agents.
Right. Like that's why I'm not in competition with anybody, right? Like I don't look at this and think
there's plenty of business to be had.
Now, in the beginning, there were some moments of people that I wanted to be competitive with. And I think, in general, I'm not competing with any other agent out there. I would much rather support somebody else's success and celebrate that. Like Mike, like I love watching him and I love connecting with him just on a regular basis as far as what are you doing? Like, what is this magic that you've got? Like, I love supporting him and supporting his journey because he's kicking ass. And I love that.
But he's also working his ass off.
He is. So, it looks like he's highly efficient and highly effective, right? But there is an element about what he's doing or his life that he's living that probably isn't fulfilled, right? So there is something out there that he probably can do better, but he's doing great. So I love celebrating that. And same thing with Sam. I love supporting that. Johnny Saraceno, same thing. I love supporting what he's doing because he's a cool guy and he works really hard.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. To me, I'd rather find a dozen agents that I can support and cheerlead than I would to find a dozen agents I can compete against.
Yeah,
because I think it's
also,
way more
you have
rewarding.
people like Mike that are they're likable people. They're nice. They're doing it right. Like I could say, like if I recommended him or somebody like you, I know you would do a good job. Like I work with a ton of agents. I have a very small short list of people that I would actually recommend to somebody. Mm-hmm. but I also see, but I get to see how they work. And it's like, if I were to recommend somebody to my parents, I'm not going to recommend just somebody that I don't see doing it the way I would want it done. used to work when I was 14. I used to work at this pizza shop, and I was making this hoagie, and like
I feel like I've heard the story.
Did I tell you this before?
I think so, but I like it. It's a good story.
It was like it was crappy. You know, like it wasn't. You know, like I think technically I was making it right, but I really wasn't. My boss picks it up, throws it in the trash can, like, you know, like an asshole, and he's like, he's like, you make it how you want to eat it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And then he showed me, and I'm like, there's a difference.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
And I think you know, the one thing I appreciate, you know, like when I see Mike, like he goes to my church, he's there. He seems like he spends time with his family. I mean, like you never know 100% of what you see, you know, what's going on behind closed doors.
Right.
But it seems like he has a nice balance, and he's doing good stuff. And I think a lot of people focused on the work-life balance to the point where it's like they're focused on more the life part than the work part. And there's in the process of finding that balance, they went too far in the other direction.
Well, sure. The pendulum always swings.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty focused on my life at the moment. You know, I love to work, and I'm happy to work, and I work hard for my clients, but I'm focused on my life because, you know, I kind of. What's that?
You get one.
You get one, and the whole reason we started a family was that I was like, wow, I could keep working and build this great business, but when I die, there's nothing. You know, it's like I've done nothing but create some happy homeowners, which is terrific. I mean, I'm not devaluing that, but I'd rather die knowing that I contributed 3 productive humans to the world. I mean, like that. I don't know. I feel like that's a better focus for me.
There's this one guy, I forget who the hell it was, some big business guy, and he had a bunch of kids, this crap load of money. He's loaded, like big time FU money, and his kids were thinking about. Like somebody was saying, like his kids were, you know, expecting to get all his money. He's like, no, you're not. It's like, I'm being buried with it all. You're gonna put it all with me. I'm taking it with me. I forget the guy's name, but he's pretty. You think you can get spicy with this guy will say anything. What do you feel about this quote? So this guy Tim Noakey is most known for the most accepted origin of this quote, that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. How much of you think the real estate industry is plagued by that?
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard?
I
don't think it applies. I don't think you can't. No, I think in real estate, you've got to have a level of talent. It can't just be working hard.
You don't think you can just work your ass off and just learn how to be good at the business?
No.
In what way? The only thing that I would think that would really hinder if you're not a people person.
Right.
That could be a hindrance.
That's what I mean. Like you can't just work hard and become good at real estate. Like you've got to have some sort of charisma, some sort of personality, it's like politics, in my opinion. You can't be in a political position if you don't have some sort of slant or charisma. I mean, you got to have.
So what you're saying is,
yeah, go there. No, I mean, I think when Trump was first elected, he had an absolute charisma. It wasn't for everybody, but he has a distinct personality and he has a definite slant, and he really ran with it. I mean, like if you watched The Apprentice and things like that, he had a shtick, and it's fine. People follow that charisma. Clinton had charisma. Obama had charisma. They all had the successful politicians, or the politicians that are the most effective, whether a positive effect or negative effect, have a charisma. And that's why everybody talks about J.D. Vance. I'm like, he's got no charisma. He's got nothing. He is as vanilla, as boring, awful vanilla as possible.
I would agree.
Like he's just got nothing.
Yeah.
He's got no, like he can't even go into, what is it, a donut shop and have a funny little interaction. Like there's nothing there. So like, guess what? Politics is not for you. Just like real estate wouldn't be for you. So it's like, so it doesn't matter how hard you work in real estate. If you don't have some sort of connection and some sort of whatever, you're not going to get there.
Right. But you don't have to. I think I do see some vanilla agents that you can be maybe not in certain aspects, but I think you can find if I'm kind of a boring person and maybe I'm not the most charismatic, but I do find there are some people that you will be successful in a wider audience with the charisma, but I see some of the most like limp noodle personalities having success because they have a good system behind them and they attract the people who are fine with that type of personality.
Right.
But like, there are some agents that they just like, you are your clients. I don't know. I think it applies because I think there are some people that don't have your personality. Like you're great with people and talking to people and all that type of stuff. But some people that don't have that are still succeeding at a high level because they work their asses off and they have good systems around there. But I think more what I think of with that quote is that agents who have the talent, who have that the je ne sais quoi, that don't work hard, that like they could be up here and they're just coasting, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I'm saying, and they're getting beat by people who don't have the je ne sais quoi. You know what I mean? Like, I think, yeah, you do need this, some agent, I think it's an older agent now, but he's like, if you're in real estate, like people are your business, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think I was just thinking to myself, like, I don't know why I'm successful in real estate. Like, I don't, it's not something I would have ever chose to do, right? Like, it's not something that was on my vision board. It was not something that I ever thought would be a thing. And I do think that the reason why I have the level of success that I have is because I do like people in general. Like I'm not, I don't know, but I question it all the time. It's like, why did this work so well for me? But I think it is my inherent desire to like get to know people. I love people.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, I mean, you look at like who you were competing with the Water Glen listing, right? Like you have, they're good at what they do. They have things you don't. You have things they don't. You're good at what you do, but not everybody attracts, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so you can have, like I always say, you can have two agents that on paper are both killer agents, but they're the one that can relate most to the sellers is going to be the one that wins.
So here's a funny story. And I don't know the ending to it yet, but somebody reached out to me because of my social media. They followed me on Instagram and said, we'd love to talk to you about listing our house. And they also talked to two other agents, one of which was Matt. And they chose to work with Matt. And they didn't tell me they chose to work with Matt. But
they didn't know the connection.
What's that?
They didn't know.
They knew the connection, which is even weirder that they didn't just tell me that.
Weird.
So instead, they said something about working with an agent that better fit their needs, or something like that. It was some generic response like that, which was awesome. Like, okay, well, I get it because I'm a lot. I mean, I can be a lot, and so. But then to find out, and because I saw an appointment on Matt's calendar, and I was like, wait a second, are you? And he goes, yeah, we're listing in the fall. I'm like, interesting. So, because that was the big thing in the office that Matt and I are both interviewing for this listing. I mean, it's a win-win either way, right? It's coming to the team and it's great. And Matt is definitely a different personality than I am.
Couldn't be more different.
Right. So it's like, it's great. It's a good thing you had two options. This is why I tell people interview multiple agents, because not everybody's personality is going to sync. You got to find the person who you feel like is going to be, in line with what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And in that case, that was the case. So it's just kind of funny.
I think that is funny.
Yeah. Especially because she asked me to come because of my Instagram stuff. So I don't know if she was expecting me to be different.
But you didn't get, but like also, okay, what you do, what he does, completely different. Personalities are completely different.
Right.
But maybe in their heads, they liked what they knew of both of you, wanted to see which one they connected. And they probably, for them, they didn't care, because they knew it was the same team. So they probably figured they were getting
and that's what I would do,
the same
right?
benefits.
Right. That's what I would do. And I think Matt definitely has a more controlled, stable, like, we've got this kind of thing. Like, he's got a very, I think, reassuring, comforting type of presentation. Like, I think he's very buttoned up. He always has been.
You know what the funny thing is I think when he's on in front of a client, he might be closer to you than he is maybe off behind the scenes.
Oh, I don't know what you mean.
I've seen him behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I've seen you behind the scenes. And you're pretty much the same in front of and behind the scenes.
Oh, right. Yeah, there's not much difference.
But like when he's in front of clients, I bet you he's closer to you than he is behind the scenes.
Right.
So maybe there's not as much of a differential there for,
Yeah.
But maybe he does have that, like, you're more playful.
Yes.
He's more like buttoned up, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, he is.
And maybe that's something.
Well, and he's a vault. Like, in his head, he's got everything. He doesn't forget things from 20 years ago. So like he's a vault, and he has an instant solution for almost anything. And there's a very comforting feeling about talking with him, because there is, I think when you meet with Matt, you leave feeling like, well, there's no situation that he's not going to be able to solve. And I think that there's a really good,
he probably won't tell them, even if he's unsure about something, where you're maybe honest to a fault, to where maybe, like, not that you're incapable of dealing with a situation, but maybe your honesty will have somebody second guess whether or not you're that person. That could be an area.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. Like, I mean, it's not like, I don't think anybody's worked with you and said, that was awful or he's sucked or anything like that. But yeah, I could see that, because you will. I've seen you be honest, and like, I wouldn't have said that in front of forward facing to a client.
Sure.
But all right, let's wrap it up. Positive message to the world. What do you got?
Positive message for the world. I had coffee with a friend / past client this week, and we talked about the world focusing too much on failure and challenges and problems, and rallying against that. Like, somebody could post in a Facebook group or something like that about this problem that they're having, and identify with that. We had the same problem, and like kind of feeling bad for them, instead of focusing on celebration and success and things like that. So I think my message to the world is start looking at the positive things that are happening to people that you know, and celebrate those things, even though you might be in the same situation and it's not as positive for you. Celebrate their success, celebrate their win, because in you celebrating that for them, the universe brings it to you.
Love that. And I just want to get it on record. So I think, July 19th is the final. The United States is going to be adding a star to their jersey.
Okay, that's
and
exciting.
Win the World Cup.
I'm looking forward to that. I'll celebrate with you. With zombies.
Something.